difference in the world. So in order to go for that, I thought like education can be the only way to achieve my goal, to make some difference in the world. So in that way, I chose economics, and currently I am doing research in economic growth and development, basically focusing on like low income countries, in the hope that I can do something for the underprivileged people in these countries, with my research, with my research outcomes, then for after formatting some economic policies for them. So that is the ultimate goal. I say that I am not doing PhD for just for profession, but it is for a passion, to achieve something, to achieve my goal. On the way, I got married after high school. I had two sons when I completed my undergrad. I started my job after undergrad, and my both of my sons goes to school with me. So it was like tough, but it is fun at the same time, because I would say as a female we have a special honor to shape our future generation. And now I would say I am a proud mom of three engineers. One of them is working in US, other in Europe, the third one in Middle East. So, and I am pursuing my PhD in economics, working going forward to achieve my passion. So that's it for now. I hope I didn't speak too much.
No, you did just well. Thank you so much for sharing your story. That was really inspiring. And Miss Tatiana, if you could please continue, and then we'll have our Q&A and the audience Q&A after that. So that's your cue.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I've been an active member in the IEEE. If anyone is into engineering here, it's a very important kind of organization to be part of. I can further elaborate on it if anyone has any further questions after this. But us women going into TechGirls, whether you're a TechGirl alumni or you're looking into becoming a TechGirl, it's very, very important. And I cannot stress over the fact that you have to empower yourself and other women to encourage them to pursue such fields, because it is a bit scarce for us to be very, very active in those fields. And it is unfortunate because we are like some of the best pioneers out there, and we really have to, how can I say it, force ourselves into it as much as possible. Never turn an opportunity down. Never turn, it doesn't matter if you think you're capable of doing it or not. Give it a chance. You never know what happens. When I initially applied to TechGirls, it was a complete coincidence. My friend had told me to try to apply for it. I was 16 at the time. I didn't know what I was doing, and there shouldn't be any pressure on what you think you're gonna do and accomplish, because really life is about experiencing things on your own and trying, and if it means failing, then you're doing it right. It means you're taking the right step. So I initially applied to TechGirls, not thinking much into it. I thought I was gonna go into medicine, just go on the normal route of becoming a doctor and just becoming a surgeon eventually. That would have taken me 15 years to accomplish what I've wanted to accomplish, and I am accomplishing right now. So it really is about taking risks and really going for it. And it cannot, for me, the most important thing is getting over your imposter syndrome. It is very common and unfortunately very, very occurrent for women our age and girls our age, and even any age, to feel like they don't belong somewhere in an environment, or maybe I don't have what it takes to become an engineer. Maybe I'm not smart enough, or I'm not that good at math. Like, you really never know. You need to go at it. You need to take chances. If you're in this right now, if you're in this meeting right now, it means you want to give to the world, give to your community. And I feel like this is what's important. So never miss out on chances. I personally did not think that Tech Girls would get me this far, but I cannot stress over the importance of giving back to your community, not just, okay, like you can go to university and study and get a very high GPA, but if your extracurriculars are missing, then you're really not really in the competition anymore. There are so many people out there with great GPAs. You need to stand out, especially as a female. Um, Whether we're disregarded or not, we really need to go into it with our all. And I feel like that's what makes us special. Our imposter syndrome drives us, but it's important for it to let us drive us forward and not make us doubt ourselves. So if that's what I would advise people that still haven't gone into their university degrees yet, or are still kind of conflicted. Do your research, experiment. It's okay to fail. In science, things are called hypotheticals for a reason, because you never know, a hypothesis could fail or it could be proven right. Either way, you come up with the results, and that to me is what's important for you in your career, in your experience. But I cannot stress over the importance of giving back to the community, and there are so many ways to do so. And I really hope Tech Girls have taught you how to really take advantage of your intelligence and help people out there that are struggling with finding opportunities and whatnot. So that's my take on my Tech Girls adventure. And again, never say no to any opportunity that comes to you, because you really never know. You might be the best out there and you just have imposter syndrome. So to me, it's you have to go for it, even if it means you fail. It means you tried and you're passionate about whatever it is you're passionate about. So that's my take on it.
Thank you, Ms. Tatiana. I feel like the points you mentioned, especially as a young girl in the field, I think we can all relate to the fact about imposter syndrome and not taking the step because of that and being afraid to make our place in the world. So for everybody who just joined, I'll reintroduce our meeting. So this is our Tech Talk number 2. Tech Talks STEM education. So we have 2 guests here today, as you can see on your screens. Tatiana Kasim, she's a biomedical engineer, and Ms. Fozia Wan. She's a PhD candidate and instructor at the University of Mississippi in the Department of Economics. So if you've just joined or you've been here for a bit, please feel free to write in the country you're joining from. We'd love to see where you're zooming in from. And so since we're over our guest introduction, I'll jump into our Q&A now. So I'll ask a question from each of you. I'll ask, for example, I'll ask Ms. Fozia the first question, then Ms. Tatiana. So we'll alternate between the both of you. So since Ms. Fozia, you mentioned you had a passion for mathematics. So what are some, I know you mentioned this in your introduction, but if you could elaborate on it as a woman in the field of mathematics, what are some main challenges that you faced? And how did you overcome them, especially as a female in the field? Because we all know about the gender disparity.
Okay, so the good thing about maths is why I like it, because I feel we go logically forward for any theoretical, like I am telling about my school days. Like for other subjects, I have to like memorize them. I feel like that, but for mathematics, we go like logically. If we have one thing, and the second thing, we can, like, whatever we have to elaborate in a page or in a paragraph, I can say that in an equation. It is a language, actually. So and for learning mathematics, like I was a part of like Aga Khan University. There was an academy where we used to have workshops for the teachers, school teachers. So what we have discussed in those, So do maths by like practically doing that, because there is a quote that I hear, I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. uh, Even for mathematics there should be mathematics labs or something. So for example, in that workshops we give one example, like if you have to teach about the like cylinder and cone, what are their like volume, same height, same circumference. If you have to teach what is the relation between their volume, just take a cone, paper made or something, and fill 3 cones, put it into like cylinder, and you will tell them, okay, 3 cones, a volume of 3 cones equal to 1 cylinder if they have same height, same circumference. So this can be done in the mathematics lab. So this was our like way, like to discuss with the teacher how we can teach maths practically, and students can comprehend them. Further, like the challenge I faced, because I was teaching mathematics, I taught mathematics for like 14 years in school, high school and higher secondary school, calculus, trigonometry. Once, because of my husband posting, we went to a remote area in Pakistan where I was teaching. I have to teach mathematics to higher secondary school. So the students said like, my father is saying how a female teacher can teach higher secondary school mathematics. uh, uh, I heard that, like, but afterward, when I taught that class, that was my best class. Like, still, those students are in touch with me. I taught that class in 2005, 2006. So I proved that females can do this. And I am happy that I have changed the mind of those people that, okay, females can also teach higher secondary school or higher level mathematics. So we, as a females, we can prove with our like with our hard work. And for that, really, and I prepared the lesson plans by using different libraries. Like, for example, if I have to teach trigonometry, I was looking library how to make it more practical, more interesting. Like, instead of saying like just we have to find hypotenuse and stuff, I give them some practical example how to start with. Well, because the syllabus outline in that school, it was just like very straightforward, not having many examples, or like in A levels or O levels books we have. So I created those examples myself to arouse the students' interest. And after that, after I have taught that, students said, yes, you teach mathematics in lively way. We enjoyed the class, and that was my achievement as female.
Thank you. I feel like one key takeaway that was from your answer was that actions speak louder than words. And as females, we can use our actions to express that we are actually good in this field and this is our place. And please make way for us because we're either better than you or we're at the same level. So thank you, Ms. Fozio. Ms. Tatiana, since you're a biomedical engineer, so and this is a very new field, right? So I was wondering if there are any ethical concerns in your field, since biomedical engineering involves very DNA level altercations, and you must know better about that. So, is there something that that you're working on, something where you have ethical concerns? If you could please tell me.
Yes. So yes, biomedical engineering is a very new, but as you can see, it's very booming. So right now, a lot of biotechnology companies are coming up. Prosthetics are advancing. There are so many paths you can take as a biomedical engineer. It's never ending. It's always expanding. So if you are someone that is interested in both biology and engineering, I highly recommend this major. As for what I'm doing, projects I'm working on, I'm currently working on, well, I already finished my first prototype with a continuous monitoring system for neurotransmitters. So this device aims to basically monitor and non-invasively monitor brain waves. And through those brain waves, I've calculated a range in which you can determine whether a patient is chronically depressed or not, or is dealing with any anxiety and mental issues, basically. As for ethics, I feel like it is a very controversial, not controversial, but is a taboo subject, especially in the Middle East. Depression isn't really taken seriously. And I felt like I've always had an interest in any neurodegenerative diseases or mental disorders. To me, I feel like once your brain, if anyone's brain is healthy, they're capable of doing so much. And I feel like the brain is really one of the most powerful organs a human has. So it is important we do take care of our mental health so we can progress with whatever it is we want to accomplish and serve society better. So my device currently does not have any ethical implications. You have to be very careful with the research process, obviously. You have to get consent with whoever you want to try the device on, collecting data. Obviously, you have to be very careful and cautious within this process. But at the end of the day, it is to serve humanity and serve people with chronic depressive disorder so that they're not exploited and given SSRIs, basically antidepressants that sometimes do impede the progress of someone's mental health. So this is basically the project that I've been working on the past few years, and hopefully I'll be continuing with the research and publishing a paper very soon. But it is important that whatever field you go into, you have a purpose and a passion, something that you're working towards, not just going into it for the sake of going into it or just landing any 9-to-5 job. It is important that you become a pioneer when it comes to engineering so that you can excel and make your vision come true. So again, going back to the ethical implications, I feel like anything can be abused. So you have to be very cautious, careful with any research process you go through and really go in with the right intentions. And that way, there really would not be any unethical practices within your research. So that's my advice on that. And yeah.
Thank you. So we have a question in the chat from Hannah. She says, "What kind of goals would you achieve with this device, or is it only for diagnosis?"
Okay, so this device is basically it introduces a very new way of diagnosing patients with chronic depressive disorder. As you know, sometimes people go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. They are like given very brief screenings, whether they do have depression or not. Sometimes it could not be depression. Sometimes it's something else. It's anxiety. It's many other things. And often, very rarely, there are some blood tests or urine tests done to detect neurotransmitter levels in the body, like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. Those are all very big factors and indicators in the presence or absence of depression. And I feel like it's very important that those are monitored for chronic depressive disorder patients. So this device basically aims to do it in a very simple, non-invasive way. You don't have to draw blood. You don't have to use urine. You don't have to do a screening. Basically, all you do is attach electrodes to your head as if you're performing an EEG. And it basically filters out all the brain waves, then does a mathematical equation to change those from brain waves to data on what neurotransmitters they could be and they are linked to, and it gives you a range. So this helps solve the issues of misdiagnosis. So let's say you just went to a psychiatrist, you told them you were depressed and they just gave you antidepressants. Is that the right way to go about it? It raises many ethical issues. And that way the patient can see with their own eyes that what's really going on with their hormone levels, what's going on with their neurotransmitter levels, and really put things on the table. And I feel like this establishes both transparency between the physician and the patient. And this is mainly the goal of the device, is to limit drug abuse, antidepressant abuse, and just all in all misdiagnoses in general.
Thank you. That's a really interesting project, and I feel like our generation, especially with the rise of awareness about mental diseases, this is something really useful, and I can see this coming in handy in the future. So, Ms. Fozia, people often associate mathematics and economics as a field which is very structured, very logical. So how do you foster creativity and innovation in a field where everything has a very definite answer? So how do you manage to say how do you maintain your creative process in this field?
Okay, so first of all, regarding mathematics, I would say like mathematics is basis for everything. Like this is computer, in this computer era, we know that like CS people has very much scope. The similarly for mathematics, like I would say it is all connected, like mathematics, statistics, computer science, and then economics too. Like I'm using all four of them like at a time while doing the research. Like in order to form an economic policy, I need the help of like mathematics, statistics, which we call econometrics when it comes with the economics, and computer science. So first of all, the people who study mathematics at school level or like to pursue it as career, they have a really good chance. Like if they go towards like statistics, they can go towards data analysis, like very demanding field in in the world, and specifically in USA. And for the programming, mathematicians write backend programs for like whatever softwares or programs we have to use. Like for example, I use Stata, I use RStudio, I use MATLAB to do data analysis. So collecting the data, analyzing it, and then looking for the trends, what happened over the time, how the countries who are developed now, why they are developed, what were the indicators which help them develop, and what the countries which are not developed right now, what they can do. All this is done by like data analysis, by like different software programs, and different, like on the basis of these analysis, we have to prepare, suggest the economic policies to these countries. So I would say it is really a sensitive thing to like suggesting a policy, like doing all this analysis and suggesting a policy, because it has impact on the whole population. Like any wrong policy can take the country to downward instead of taking upward. So so doing maths, coming from mathematics background, and then going towards like statistics, computer science, and then combining up economics with that, it is really a helpful and powerful tool. And to like it like being because I studied mathematics, statistics, and all these stuff together. So as economist, it is easier for me to go forward to do these analysis and then give the ultimate policies for the countries, to suggest them that what can be good for the country.
Thank you. I think that clearly indicates that it's not just a bunch of equations, but you really have to dig deep and think and produce an innovative solution to how to tackle these economic issues. So back to Ms. Tatiana. So, okay, we have a question in the chat. So how does geopolitics impact your work in creating those policies? This is for Ms. Fozia.
Sorry, is this question for me, Abiha? Okay, please,
Yes.
can you repeat it? Sorry.
Yes. How does geopolitics impact your work in creating those policies?
Yes, this is the actual topic of my research, like institutional quality, economic policies, and economic growth. So I would say, usually economists says a country need capital. General view is more investment, more human capital, technical people. These are important for economic growth or for having more income in the country. Yes, they are important, but more important, what is lacking in these developing countries is better institutions or better institutional quality, and that is based on the policies these countries choose on the way, because institutions take a long time to change over the time, but economic policy can quick that process, but it is possible only if the appropriate economic policies are chosen. And of course this is not in the area of economics just can suggest the policies on the basis of analysis of ultimately who has to implement those policies and use that policies that come towards politicians of that country. So then at this point, the politics comes in, if the political people in political power like to do something better for the country, of course it will go forward with good policies, and there's for the betterment of the country. So yes, there is politics involved in economic growth, because usually rent seeking and this type of stuff is common in lower income countries. Much care is not given to the national level, like economic betterment, instead personal benefits. So all these are really important in this case.
Thank you. I think that sheds light perfectly on the issue of how it's really important to take into account geopolitics and how it can sometimes be a bit of a hindrance in forming the best policies for our countries. So back to Ms. Tatiana. So, what skills do you think an engineer should have, since you have the best of both worlds, both medicine and engineering? So, what do you look for? What's something that an engineer must have? What's the sort of mindset that you look for in an aspiring engineer?
Well, obviously you have to be very passionate about solving problems. So to me, the core basis of engineering is problem solving, being able to come up with very creative, engineering is not just solving math or just being creative. It has to be both. So you have to be a very good critical thinker, but you also have to be very creative with creating solutions to very complex problems that usually textbooks wouldn't have. And it only comes with experiencing the real world, understanding, okay, let's say I want to solve problem X. Well, I need to come up with very creative solutions, very unique solutions to solve this very specific problem. So to me, this is one of the most important skill sets to have. So you have to have soft skills and hard skills, but having being a critical thinker, being very logical, but also creative, to me is is very, very important. It's not just about being able to solve mathematical equations, but it's also about really knowing what you're solving and what you're trying to do with the problem you're trying to solve, basically. Another thing is being passionate. If you want to stand out, there are so many engineers out there, so many talented people. You need to stand out. You need to have a cause. You need to have something, of a project you're passionate about, whether you're studying to be a computer engineer or a mechanical engineer, mechatronics engineer. You have to have a cause based on what you're passionate about and work your way around through it. You also have to be obviously good at math, but I wasn't that good at math, to be honest. And I don't think it's the most important thing out there, but you definitely need to work on your math skills. So those to me are the most important things to have. Just stand out there and be creative, be a problem solver, be logical, and you'll succeed for sure.
Thank you, Ms. Tatiana. I think that was pretty useful for our audience here, since many of us are aiming to be engineers or doing something related in the field. So I have a few questions that I'm going to be asking both of you. I have the same question for you both, and I'd like to have both of your opinions on it. So since you're both professionals in your fields, so how do you explain instances where you have to communicate a complex issue in your field? It could be a mathematical problem, it could be a medical scenario or a diagnosis. So how do you explain those concepts to a non-technical audience? Since I feel like both of you have to deal with non-technical audiences when you have to deliver your work. So how do you tackle those instances? Ms. Fozia, you could go first, please, and then Ms. Tatiana.
Okay, so I think whatever I am doing, economics is daily life subject. But okay, it might be little technical, saying like institutional quality and economic growth are important. So I think okay, I would say like economic growth mean having better standard of living in any country, right? And institutional quality comes in like property right in that country. How is the business freedom? How is other things like law and order situation and this type of and it is based on the and these institutions like property rights, law and order situation, all these things are institutions and they do not change overnight. They take a long time to change. And uh, like what as economist my research area is like other than like more investment, more labor, more technical skilled people, these things are more important. So this is my research area, like institutional. In order to have better growth in low income countries, they need to focus on these institutions. Like they need to improve. Better property right will encourage people to do more investment. They will if there is law and order situation, they will know that their investments are secure. When there is more investment, more there will be more employment, people will get employment, their income will increase, and overall country will have better standard of living, better income. So I think it can help everyone understand what is institutional quality and economic growth.
Thank you. That was a really it was a really fun explanation. So Ms. Tatiana, I'll just quickly repeat the question. So how do you tackle instances where you have to explain complex concepts to a non-technical audience?
Basically, as any expert in any field, you need to know how to explain things in a very simple way to anyone, really. Otherwise, you really don't understand what you're doing. So to me, it's first of all, how I tackle it is by knowing my audience. Like, let's say my audience is from a medical background, not an engineering background, then I'll try to use analogies, use some examples from medical cases, try to make them from engineering cases to medical cases, basically just simplifying things as much as possible, being aware of the differences in between the parties. So you need to know your audience first. You need to do your research first on what that person could know and could not know. Be as transparent as possible. Make sure you're making them comfortable when tackling any issue with them, in terms of making sure they're understanding technical terms, maybe using less technical terms, more general and familiar terminologies, so both parties are on the same page technically. That's how I would come about to approach it.
Thank you. That's a really simple and interesting approach, and I feel like we could use this not just as experts, but for anybody who's talking to somebody who isn't familiar with their background. I think this is something that each one of us could use. So for the next question that I'd like both of you to answer is, since you're both researchers and you must have done lots of research, so have you ever encountered skepticism or doubt regarding your scientific findings, and how did you handle that? So, Ms. Fozia, if you could please go first.
Um, yes, of course. It is, I would say, imposter syndrome is part of the PhD process. Like every time, every day, you can feel like that, because research is that kind of thing. Like I used to explain research with an analogy, like saying like you are in a small boat in a big ocean, all alone, looking for an island. And this is how research works. Like you are looking for that. It may take like, you think you may find it within 2 weeks, but it take 2 months, and maybe you think for 2 months and take 2 years. And finally, sometimes you vision far away, there is a small island. You go forward towards that. Again, your journey can take more than what you think. When you reach there, sometimes you think, oh, this is not the place where I like to go. I have to go somewhere else. Then again, research start. So this is the case in research. Like every time you think, okay, where I am going, is that the right place where I am going? So this is always part of your research work. Like how to overcome it. Like I usually like have like other researchers, although they are in different fields, we always discuss with each other. These discussions, like friends on your same level, usually help you okay, it is the part of life, it can be overcome. And work life balance is also very important. Like if you are doing 20 hours a day research, no, that will not work. Just take a break, go for a walk, go do some exercise, do have some fun time with your friends. That is important. You that is your right. So keep work life balance. And yes, think that this type of phases always come in everyone's life when you are doing research. So it's normal, take them as normal, but continue. You consistency is very important in this process.
Thank you. So, for Ms. Tatiana, I'll just quickly read the question again. It's that have you ever encountered skepticism or doubt in your research or scientific findings, and how do you handle that?
Definitely, I feel like research isn't really research without any skepticism and doubt. As I've previously mentioned, they're called hypotheses for a reason. Sometimes you could be addressing a certain issue in your research proposal that could be, then you'll come to find that the solution to that problem is the complete opposite to what you thought it was, or maybe the cause of that problem was the complete opposite to what you thought it was. And I feel like that is part of the process. And if you're not going through skepticism and doubt, and if you're not doubting, I'm not saying that like fully doubting what you're doing or not really believing what you're doing, but rather just like having those slight doubtful moments of am I doing this right? Is this the result that I wanted? It's good to have some doubt. It will push you to enhance your research and enhance what you're doing, because at the end of the day, you're not going to do research just for the sake of doing research. You want accurate results. You want a good outcome, and any outcome is a good outcome if you're dealing with it in a very ethical manner and being truthful to yourself and accepting that sometimes your research could come out contradictory to what you're doing. I've reached many points in my research initially where I thought it could not be doable at all. So many people have told me the device you're doing is not doable. You cannot do it. Like, it's impossible. It has never been done before. What makes you think that you can do it? But really use that as encouragement and drive to make you work harder for it and try to understand it. Because especially in fields in which things are more complex, like the brain, the nervous system, you really cannot be very certain, as the brain is a very complex organ. So I did have my doubts initially. I was very skeptic about whether my research will have a good outcome or not, but hopefully it did, and everything went well. I'm reading a question. How do you respond when your research outcomes are contradictory? You do proceed with it naturally, as you did. Obviously, you have many steps in the research. You have the abstract, you have the literature review, you have so many steps before getting to the methodologies, for getting to the results. So you proceed with your research as you were expecting to proceed with it initially. You do your research, you state your hypothesis. I'm expecting an XYZ outcome. If that outcome does not represent to you in any way, shape, or form throughout your research and the outcome, then you have to state that in your research, it turned out that my outcome was way different, and this is how I proceeded to go with it. And usually it's not always a bad thing. It's usually a good thing as well to have a different outcome. It means you are doing your research correctly. It doesn't have to come out the way you want it to be. Like, you know, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, definitely you have to be very honest in your research, proceed with it as normal. It is okay to have contradictory outcomes. That is part of the process. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Ms. Tatiana. Ms. Wazir, would you like to add something to her answer to the question in the chat?
Yeah, it is possible. Like, even which we do empirical analysis, we think that like, as I said, property right, and these are important for economic growth of a country. I did data analysis, and then finally I got, no, it is not working. They have no impact. Yeah, it is possible, and we have to accept. And then, but then again, we have to look for other variables. Like, real world is very complex. When we do economic analysis or like empirical analysis, we include few variables in that, like, which have impact on economic growth. Or if we have this type of result, we have to check, like, either we need to add more factors, variables in this, or either we have to change the methodology, or we have to, like, there are multiple things we have to look upon again on the same whole process. Like, yes, it is usual in the research, but sometimes you do not get the results you expected. You accept them and then try to look at them. What are the actual results, and what are the factors which are not giving them.
you. I feel like that answered the question very well. And I know, Ms. Tatiana, you touched a little bit on the question I'm going to ask next in your previous response. So I'll just ask if you have anything else to add to that. So this is a pre-submitted question from one of our attendees, and she says, what is something that motivates you to go through each and every day when you face challenges in your field, or sometimes since you're a researcher, you might get tired of what you have to do on a daily basis. So how bringing this in together with the concept of burnout. So how do you deal with it and how do you keep going?
Yeah, this is a very important question, and I cannot stress over how much it is important for you to not get burnt out. I learned the hard way. I was taking excessive credits at university. I was doing research. I was doing extracurriculars. I was doing so much extra work. I had 2 jobs, and I thought like that was the way to like get to my goal faster. I mean, usually it works. I mean, it's not a terrible approach, but you need to be aware of burnout, and it's very much real. Because once you get burnt out, it's hard to get out of it again. So my advice to you is when you do feel like you're burnt out or you're losing the daily motivation you have, it's to take a step away from it, have a moment to yourself, do the things you enjoy doing throughout the day that are not related to whatever you're working on. Take a breather and just go back to it when you're ready again. Allow yourself to fail, allow yourself to relax, allow yourself to enjoy your time. As if you are passionate, then this thing that you're working on is not going anywhere. But at the same time, don't cut yourself too much slack. Try to have balance. To me, balance is key. I try to enjoy my social life as much as possible, but at the same time, maintain my research, maintain my jobs, maintain my education. This is how you avoid getting burnout. And this helps with daily motivation and just remembering why you're doing what you're doing. It's very important. Remind yourself on a daily basis, I want to achieve that because of that. Avoid materialistic goals. Like if you're going into the headspace of, oh, I want to work on this project because it's going to generate so much income for me. Income is good, money is very good, but this shouldn't be your drive. And this is where I see people losing their drive when they're trying to go for a materialistic goal. Because at the end of the day, materialism isn't really going to drive you. And getting to that goal it's going to feel tedious. So balance is key. Don't burn yourself out. Enjoy the process. It shouldn't feel like a chore. It shouldn't feel like you're doing it just to get it over and done with. That's my advice to you. And just remember why you're doing the things you want to do and what really is it that you want to achieve. That to me is one of the most important principles to go by when you're trying to achieve a goal without getting burnt out and feeling demotivated. So that's what I would say about it.
So that's really insightful. And Ms. Fozia, if you could please have your opinion on that.
Yes, first of all, I would say like choose the field or area that you really love, because it will help you keep motivated. Like even if you are working hard and even if you are tired, and but if you enjoy your work, then you will do it. Like you can continue with it for longer time. And I will add in Tatiana's word that like yes, money is need of life, not aim of life. Don't make it aim of life. So do it like this. So and further, if you feel burnout, then I would say again, like work-life balance is really important in it. Like you should have some schedule for yourself, like maybe some morning walk, maybe a little exercise, going hanging out with the friends, even maybe just on weekends, one day, at least spare a few hours in a day for yourself, hanging out with your friends, discuss with if they are on in the same similar board, like they are also students and doing research or something. It is helpful when you know that other people are also facing the similar thing. You feel good. So I would say having good friends around can help you a lot. Sometimes whatever we feel in our work, we may not be able to explain it to our family that much, but the friends who are in the similar area, they are also doing the research and they understand better. So all these things can be helpful, like maybe watch a good movie, leave work for a while, watch a good movie or something. It will take you away from your work for a while, but then you will come back with a fresh mind.
Thank you. And I feel like your answers, once again, we can relate to them to our own lives as students who aren't yet into the technical field. Because with everything that's going around us and how fast-paced the world is right now, I feel like it's important for each one of us to take a break and step back and take some time for ourselves so that we can come back, as Ms. Wozia mentioned, with a fresh and a sharper mind so that we can continue doing what we were working on. So I think this brings us to the end of our session. And I just like both of you to, before we end, I'd like both of you to share a parting note. And after that, I'd like for us to have a group picture. And if anybody of you wants to turn on their cameras, please feel free to do so. And Ms. Fozia, Ms. Tatiana, just quickly a brief advice for what's something that you want to deliver to the next generation of female leaders and girls aspiring to be where you are today. So, Ms. Fozia, if you could please start off.
I would say nothing is impossible in the world. Just strong willpower and of course will of God is needed. So even as a female, like I used to say, I came long way from a small village of a developing country. If I can achieve my goal in the situation where usually people say, "Oh, why girls should go to school? Do they want to do any job?" Like this type of comments I used to hear. So you can achieve your goal with consistency, with strong willpower. It is not impossible. So and remember one thing, every successful person has faced a lot of failure. Never ever afraid of failures. Failures are part of success. Like they come, they okay, we feel bad for a while, but get more energy and start again. So this is what I would say, never give up. You will achieve whatever. And sometimes maybe we like to go one way, we get another way, maybe that is better for us, but continue going, continue your work, continue your strength. You can achieve whatever you want.
Thank you. That's a very important point that you raised there about not being hindered by challenges, and onto Ms. Satyan.
Definitely 100% agree with everything she said. Definitely would add into that. Don't be scared to be fiery, to stand your ground. You will meet a lot of people that will try to bring you down, especially if you're in a male-dominated field. Never take it personal. Never stop what you're doing because someone gave you a comment or criticized something you were doing or doubted your performance and whatever it is. Don't ever doubt it. Don't stop. Stand your grounds. Have a very passionate and very fiery, like enthusiastic approach to anything you're doing, and that way people will be intimidated by that in a good way, and no one would ever cross you in that sense, if that makes sense. I'd also advise to be very updated with the world. I feel like that's very important now, as so many things are constantly changing. constantly advancing. So you need to stay up to date with whatever is happening within your research, within your field, outside of your field. Apply to everything. Everything that you feel is an extracurricular, volunteer, go for it, apply. You have nothing to lose. The more the merrier. And don't be scared of rejection. It is part of the process, and it's not always going to be upwards. You're going to have bumps in the road. Don't let that make you doubt yourself or your performance, or yeah, just don't doubt yourself. Failing is fine, and it's okay to feel like you're not enough. Just remind yourself that that's a phase you're going through, and you should be good to go. So that's my advice. And always be prepared for anything. Always research, always learn, read, and learning doesn't stop. You can get so many degrees, but you're always going to have to learn. And going into the work field is a completely other world than studying in a university or high school. And you're going to go through hardships, and you have to understand that it's part of the process. And if you're not going through them, then you have to be doing something wrong. So that's my advice for you, for sure.
Thank you so much. And we're really glad to have both of you here. And that was really valuable advice. That's something that I would put up on a t-shirt about not giving up and standing your ground and saying yes to doing the impossible. So if somebody wants to turn on their camera, this is the perfect time. We're going to have a group photograph, and if you just want to put on some reactions, that would be great too. So just a minute for anybody who wants to turn on their camera, or just a reaction. So in 3, 2, 1. Thank you everyone once again for joining. Thank you, Ms. Fozia, Ms. Tatiana. This was a really enlightening session, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, learning from our seniors, learning from fellow women in STEM who are there to inspire us. And we'll see you guys at our next Tech Talk. And thank you so much, all of you, for all of your time.
Thank you so much to all of the team, to all the council, Hannah, Abiha, all of you guys. Thank you so much for hosting us, and thank you to everyone that was watching. Thank you for your time, and I hope this was insightful, and it's really a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It is really an honor to be part of TechGirls.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sure all of our guests share your sentiment, and we're definitely overjoyed to hear all of your advice and what you had to share for the future. Thank you so much for sharing your insights once again. And we'll see you guys at our next Tech Talk. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Have a good weekend.